Let's read this news. You may have heard. Wow, amazing. From Timcast.com, Biden urged Afghan president to change the perception of Taliban's imminent victory, Reuters reports. New details are emerging from the final phone call between U.S. President Biden and the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani, with reports claiming Biden urged the foreign leader to change perceptions that the Taliban was winning the war. The call took place on July 23rd. On August 15th, Ghani fled the presidential palace and the Taliban entered Kabul. Since then, tens of thousands of desperate Afghans have fled and 13 U.S. troops have lost their lives, scores of Afghan civilians. Here's a quote from Biden. "I need not tell you the perception around the world and in parts of Afghanistan, I believe, is that things are not going well in terms of the fight against the Taliban. And there is a need, whether it's true or not, there is a need to project a different picture. We will continue to provide close air support if we know what the plan is," Biden told Ghani. "You clearly have the best military. You have 300,000 well-armed forces versus 70 to 80,000, and they're clearly capable of fighting well." So it sounds like a lot of lies coming out of the White House in these past few weeks. We didn't know it was going to happen. They knew it was happening then. On July 1st, they abandoned Bagram Air Force Base. That's been like the centerpiece of this big story and the scandal as to what went down, because they didn't just hand off. Here's what should have happened, in my opinion. And you know, maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a military guy. The Biden administration could have said, all right, it's currently May. By July 1st, we will leave, which gives us a month to get in some Afghan security forces, Afghan National Army, to start replacing the people who run the Air Force Base so that you can properly take it over, have the logistics, and then start dealing with the Taliban should they come in after we leave. Instead, in the middle of the night on July 1st, they turned the lights off, cut the power, and fled without telling anybody. And civilian looters busted in. And then when the Afghan army found out, they went in and tried and secured it and arrested people. But you got to imagine, by July 23rd, about 3 weeks before the fall of Kabul, when the president of Afghanistan is like, yo, Biden, we need some air support. They already abandoned the Air Force Base without telling them. And Biden's like, yeah, we'll provide you with air support. Just keep telling everybody you're winning. So to me, kind of sounds like the plan, man.
It's indeed the plan, but you got to wonder, that's the plan from Biden's perspective. You got to wonder where the lies start, right? Does the lies start all the way down with, yeah, we just trained these 4 new recruits to the Afghan security forces, and they're great. They're doing a great job. And those lies just multiply and add up and build up and add up and build up to where Joe Biden is like, hey, we really have 300,000 troops there. They're really going to be helpful for you. You're fine. 300,000 versus 80,000. It's fine. I mean, that's the intel that he's getting. Look, I am not a Joe Biden fan. I'm not defending Joe Biden. The guy needs to be put into a nice, comfortable rocking chair with a blanket over his lap and a nice book in his lap if he can read, and a cup of tea and the whole thing. Somebody pat him on the head every once in a while, tuck him in, wipe his nose.
Sponge baths.
Yes. Well, I'm not volunteering or sicking that on anybody, but like it's compounding lie after 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 lie. And, really, the president is a guy that's up there playing Risk. He's got the board. He's got the pieces. He can only depend on the information that he's been giving. And it's, from my perspective, it seems like the entire military industrial complex is just filled with liars, scoundrels, and thieves who are not doing their job.
But they want war.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So are you saying that, Biden wanted to withdraw, and so it's the military industrial complex that screwed it up and gave him bad info, or what do you mean? I
think that when you've got Biden and his team and the wokeified apparatus that's now taken over everything, their focus is always on the wrong thing. They're always focused and they're putting their attention on the wrong thing. So whenever they take action, it's the wrong action. Because their focus is on wokeness. It's on, making sure that the, what are my words I can't say over here, making sure that the army is diverse enough, making sure that they're dealing with white rage and these things, and they're not making sure that the facts and the information that they're getting are accurate. And so they're just taking these things at face value. Basically, you can't take anything at face value anymore. Nothing.
But is it lies or is it collapse, right? So I'll put rot. Imagine rot. The military is a bunch of, you ever see that meme where it's like 2 people standing on a cliff and it's like a beautiful city and they're hugging, and then holding the cliff up is a bunch of soldiers that are like bleeding, and one guy's pointing a gun and they're holding it up. Yeah. It's making a point about how this comfort and this luxury is based on it. So imagine that support structure of all of these dudes holding up society. Not that I'm a fan of the Afghan war by any stretch of the imagination, but you start corrupting and rotting those support beams, and they start just writhing and falling and collapsing, and then eventually the structure loses support, the whole thing falls down. Yep. So is it really lies, or is it? Here's the way I see it. And I'll do a side note here. We got a video removed. We got a strike on TikTok because
on TikTok.
Yeah. On TikTok because I said in a video, it's clear Biden is in charge, that there are no adults in the room, and that when Biden's talking in these meetings and says stuff, people just go along with whatever he says and don't challenge him. He's got sycophants and bureaucrats who don't want to stick their neck out, and Biden's clearly not with it. And so we got to strike for that. But I stand by that. I think what's happening is you've got, Kamala, Milley, other people, right? The National Security Advisor, you've got Jen Psaki, and they're like, I'm not saying anything. It's like Joe Biden walks in, he sits down, and we heard him say, Trina on a shot of pressure on TV. What do you think he's saying in private?
Right.
When he's sitting there and they're all sitting around him, and he's like, Kabul, Kamaja, do it. And they're like, whatever you say, Joe. And they just walk out shrugging.
We know one of the things he says in private, which is, hey, leader of Afghanistan, lie to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it was when he said whether it's true or not.
Yes.
Whether it's true or not, just lie if you have to, but trick people.
Do you wish anything would have gone differently in Afghanistan? Yeah,
Dude,
I wish the president wouldn't have fled.
This whole woke crap, it's like they didn't want to hurt the Taliban's feelings. We had an out date by September 1st or August 31st. What you do as a military, if you're not prepared to leave a war that you're winning, you extend the deadline.
Well, were we winning?
Yeah, we were dominating that country. We controlled the country. We had
We
had air support. We had logistics.
Agree.
We had total opportunity to withdraw safely everything over time. And they just chose to surrender. Biden surrendered when we were winning the war. He didn't just issue a white peace and walk away. He surrendered our equipment.
I actually agree. I agree with. I think so. I agree. Yes. In that sense, I would say when I say I don't know if we were winning, it's like it's 20 years in attrition and soldiers are dying every year, and there was some serious attacks the past few years, and I'm like, I don't know if it's winning if we're in a country we don't need to be in to colonize our nation build from people who don't want us to be there. I don't know what we're trying to win other than invading this country. But from what you're saying, in that sense, yes, we not only did we have control of the country, but we did have the Afghan National Army. And I think this story is the perfect example of how it all broke. It's amazing. It's the breaking point. It's almost like there really was a system in place, not a good one. I still believe there would have been chaos and conflict, but it's like Joe Biden, the administration made sure to find the one support beam they could strip out to make sure it all went smack down and collapsed on the way out. They pulled logistics and air support. They abandoned the Air Force Base around Kabul, or Bagram, near Kabul. They couldn't do evacuations. It really felt like of all of the things they could have done, they did quite possibly the worst thing. I guess the worst thing would be to bomb your own, like the civilians. Okay, so in the sense of strategy for the withdrawal, this was the worst thing they could have done.
Yes, a premature surrender.
In getting the withdrawal executed, sure, there was a lot of tactical and operational errors for sure. But we were losing that war the minute we started.
Well, it's not a war with a valuable goal. I think it was a pointless endeavor, but we were dominating in force. We were winning the force.
But were we
battle.
really, though? Because the whole point, I guess, well, not the whole point, but one of the points of being there was to build up this army that was going to be able to defend Afghanistan from all these other bad guys. And in the very first possible moment where they were there to do the job that they were trained for, they didn't just do the job poorly. They just said, just kidding, we're not even doing it.
Oh, but I agree and disagree. I think they certainly did a poor job, but there's a video of Afghan commandos fighting back, defending, territory from the Taliban, and they run out of ammo. And the Taliban comes in, so they drop their guns, and the Taliban executes them. There's video of this happening. They post it. Taliban wants to post their victories.
Right.
You have Joe Biden abandoning Bagram in the dead of night without telling them.
Right.
So it's like, if you've got, you're a country that's been built up by 20 years of occupation. America comes in. They build up this whole apparatus in Afghanistan, and they say, it's our airbase. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the logistic. Here's the contractors. And you're like, okay, I guess. And there's no handoff of power. And then all of a sudden, one day, the Taliban is storming in because you're pulling out. And you're like, all right, let's go. Where's our Air Force? Nobody's there. What do you mean nobody's there?
Right.
They did fight. Right. And not every single one.
But
we had Afghan National Army defending the Kabul airport. And I think, initially, this was my mistake, too. When Biden came out and said, you have Afghan, security forces unwilling, or he said, why should we send the next generation of Americans to fight a war the Afghans are not willing to fight themselves? And I was like, it's a good point. And then I started reading the reports. I started reading the experts, reading the timeline of events. And I was like, yo, that's brutal. some of these guys did fight really, really hard, but Biden pulled support on July 1st.
Sure. So I'm sure some of them were definitely, dyed in the wool true believers, Afghan army fighters wanting to defend themselves and their country from the Taliban. But if you take it a couple other data points, one, the Pew study that says 99% of Afghanistani citizens want to have Sharia law enacted, and you contrast that with our efforts to take Afghanistan into modernity by teaching them gender studies, by trying to actually, encourage homosexuality and all these things, and women's rights and yada yada yada. The culture clash. Thinking of that Coen Brothers movie, Culture Crash. The culture clash there was irreconcilable, and the civilizational clash was irreconcilable. And just one last point on this: the whole American military machine is supported by this enormous logistics infrastructure, right? Air support, weapons and development, research and development, supply chains, manufacturing, all these things. And they trained, apparently, and I'm not an expert, but I do talk to many, they trained the Afghan army to operate the same way that the United States military does, which requires this gigantic infrastructure behind it. Right. And so the minute you pull that infrastructure out, well, then, of course, it's stupid. It's like giving the whole Afghan army a bunch of Teslas to drive and then taking away the electricity.
Did you see that?
That's actually a really good metaphor.
There's a photo. I don't know if it's real
or analogy,
but it's a Taliban guy pointing a gun at a bunch of civilians who are like shocked and scared, and they're standing up against a wall of like the UN security goals or whatever. I don't know if that's true because it's awfully convenient, but I'm like, it was a convincing photo nonetheless, and it was like, here's our sustainability goals, or whatever the plan they got the website.
Taliban's all about the memes these days, I hear.
Posting memes, man.
They're killing it on Twitter, dude. Killing it on Twitter.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.